Alrighty. So, are you ready to peek into a crystal ball and see what the future holds for mobile app development industry in 2020? Sorry, in 2025? I'm sure we all have some exciting ideas. So let's hear it directly from our mediator, Ankit Bhuti, the Customer Officer of Cordify Inc. and panelists. And they will be tackling this session of how is 2025 going to be for mobile app development industry. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name's Ankit. I'm the CCO at Quantify Inc. We're a professional services org. And I just want to welcome my fellow panelists here, Cyril and Omar. Hello, how you guys doing?
Hi, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Let's have a seat. I know this is the last talk of the day, so thank you for being here and thank you for hearing us out. So, Cyril, Omar, why don't we just dive right into it? Why don't we start with some introductions?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Cyril Kema. I'm the CTO of Nextday AI. I've been in computer engineering and software engineering for the past 16 years. I've worked in a French consultancy. I've worked in digital identity in the UK. I've also worked for Shopify, and I'm now the CTO of a generative AI company. So obviously, it's a buzzword. But I'm quite passionate about mobile application development. I spent 7 years focusing solely on that, so I'm quite looking forward to debate some of those topics with you.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Cyril. Hi, I'm Omar. I am the founder and CEO of the digital product discipline. DPD is a product strategy firm. We help small and big companies with product strategy and bringing their ideas to light. At DPD, we believe in empowering small and big companies and helping them achieve their digital goals.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here as well. So, just to kick things off right away, what do you think is the role of AI and machine learning in mobile application development going forward? I know the topic says 2025, but let's just start with 2024 first. You want to
Do
take
you want to
this?
go first or? Sure. So I believe right now, with ChatGPT coming out and AI being such a big word, big buzzword, and all of these companies really um, racing to do something with AI, what is happening is there are people right now who are using AI in 2025 um, to help build applications. So, like for example, some of the clients that I work with, we have introduced almost peer programming with our programmers with ChatGPT, and it is really helping them move forward. However, I think in 2025, when people get a little bit of a chance to slow down and really think through what these experiences, AI experiences, should be and will be with some of their products. Like, for example, I don't know how many people over here know GitHub, which is like a code repository, right? Imagine in 2025, they actually have some time and you're going to have an app that is going to actually code with you, right? Like it's going to be almost Chat GPT, but for the coding world, which will know your entire code base. It'll know your company. It'll know what you're trying to achieve, and it will help you build it by you just prompting it. So I think in the future is going to be less pure programming with AI and more really letting AI do the work and you being the director of it.
Cool. That sounds about right. That's how the trends are going. What about you, Cyril?
I have a few points to add to that. I think what I found quite fascinating right now is the versatility of AI, right? It can help you uh, fixing your code, it can help you understanding a feature, a platform even. What costs a lot of money when you developing a mobile application is making sure that it is tailored for the right platform. Is it iOS? Is it Android? And it takes a lot of time. So I think what AI can help and can transform is fast forwarding those gap in knowledge, as well as helping you picking the right tool. If you're a little bit familiar with the world of software engineering, there is literally thousands of way of doing the same thing, right? And I think AI can not only help you pick the best tool for the job by giving you a summary of how it has been done throughout what it has been trained on, but also helping you understand on how to integrate it and how to fast forward the usage of said tool. So I think this is quite interesting, and it can happen today already. Now, if you try to move a little bit forward in time, I can see AI being able to tell you that actually that particular tool is not relevant anymore. You might as well use something that is just brand new, that just popped out, or even telling you don't use the tool because you don't have the usage for it. Don't create this entropy in the code that creates bugs and that makes application development a lot more difficult. Perhaps just do it in a much simpler way or remove the feature altogether because actually it won't help your user base. I think this is where the key is for next year. Today, we're seeing AI as an assistant, a tool that helps you doing things a little bit more efficiently. But I think where we're going to go is to see AI telling you, actually, don't do that. You want to use that tool to do to potentially improve, I don't know, user acquisition. And if you're doing that, you may increase your user acquisition by 2% over 6 months. But next year they will drop because this tool will get deprecated. There has been a notice of deprecation on the website and so on and so forth. And all those little detail that seems perhaps a bit too technical sometimes, that's the one that creates entropy that costs a lot of money to software engineering team, and that makes application development and product engineering a lot more difficult.
That makes sense, right? So AI as a tool is a trend that's been going on for a while and started 2023 actually. So in terms of UX, mobile is obviously the prominent form factor out there. Most of us have smartphones out there, and mobile app are now, one would say, as if not more prominent and pervasive than websites or web applications. So what about UX specifically, or mobile form factor UX that you see will change with AI? Because currently, what we're seeing is either you talk to a bot or you chat with a bot. Do you see any other UX alterations with AI
That's
in the
a
mobile form factor?
that's a very interesting question. Um, if you are familiar with what ChatGPT is doing, it is called generative AI, and the way it works is by trying to guess what is the most likely word to come after the first one it has been selected, right? So it's generating content, and in case of ChatGPT, it's mostly text that is being generated. What you're alluding to is what we've seen out there, which is generating images that exist already, is synthesizing voices is also already existing. And we've seen, I hope you have seen that, those mind-blowing videos that have been generated from a text prompt, right? You have fully fledged 3D videos that we can generate from explaining what you want. Now, to your point, I do believe that we can leverage very soon, if not already, in the coming weeks, we can leverage the power of generative AI to generate a different type of content. Should it be the code that generates your user experience, the code that will generate perhaps, a button or a screen for your users, or the screen itself? So if you've done product engineering, there is a point where you want to test is this screen or this flow better for my users in this side of the world or my this category of users. You probably even have noticed with your friends and family that sometimes you have a different version of WhatsApp than your other friend or a different version of LinkedIn than your other friend. That is because they are doing what is called as A/B testing. They're trying out different screens, different user flow to see which one works best. That needs to be coded. It means if you have two or three versions of the same flow, you need your engineering team to do it two, three, or four times. With the help of AI, I am very convinced that in the coming months, not even more than that, we'll be able to not only ask AI to generate those flow for you, alternative flow based on your existing code base, but more importantly, to suggest for you, or you have an issue in your user acquisition. I keep using this example because that's the one that drives money. You have an issue here, and every month toward the last week, for example, you have an inflection of 10% in user acquisition. AI could suggest to you this is based on this screen, this button is not clicked as much as it should be. Therefore, it can suggest for you here is four variation of the button or the flow around this button, and you have to select maybe the four, maybe the one, two, or three. You press a couple of buttons, maybe 10 buttons, and you're live in production. No coding involved, no issue, no bugs, and you have all the tools required for you to understand after a couple of weeks if this A/B testing was successful. We are not there yet because I haven't seen, and maybe it exists. I haven't seen software focusing on that, but we can generate text, which is which is the same usage for coding. We can generate images, we can generate videos, we can generate audio. So everything is there to be able to do exactly what you said.
That's right. Uma, what do you think about it?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, just to piggyback off of what Cyril, you're saying, I believe that by like the middle or by the end of 2025, you're actually going to have generative AI that is going to be able to that you're going to be able to tell it that this is my design language. These are all my buttons. This is how everything looks, and you're going to be able to give it suggestions, and you're going to be able to give it a directive to always have my conversion at a certain level. And it is going to be able to generate these different experiences and test them, A B test them, ABC test them, and be able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stick with this one. And what we're really talking about over here is hyper personalization, right? Like what Cyril was talking about at the very beginning of just everybody having their own experience, their own app. If you are left-handed, your app will look a little bit different. If you hold your app a little bit, uh, on the top side, most of your optimized buttons will be at the top, but the app will learn how you behave and how you interact with the phone, and it will update the experience and the UI accordingly.
I like that. App will learn. We know machines are learning, but app will learn. That's
Right.
pretty cool. So, for the mobile developer community out there, we were just about getting settled with no code and low code style of development. And all of a sudden, we have AI doing the code for us, like you said. And probably AI doing the code would be just yield better results than no code or low code. What's your take on that?
Um, I think I so I believe that it's a good thing, right? I think it gives our engineers more time to think about things that um, like AI is probably not best suited for. Um, I think that it also negates the need for us to, like, for example, if you talk about code, no code, and cross-platform and everything, right? Like a lot of times we were now using frameworks like React Native or other not native frameworks to be able to optimize coding for two different uh, native apps. So for iOS and for for Android. Um, but with that came a lot of cons, right? Like it is not the most optimal way to do it. It is not the best suited for it. The performance isn't there. You're not able to use the device's native capabilities to its fullest extent. Now with no code or like almost low code or no code, you're able to forego those kind of shortcuts, those kind of band-aids, right? Like you don't need React Native anymore. You can, within the same time frame or even less, build an app that is optimized for iOS, build an app that is an Android app optimized for both of those operating systems. So what, in my opinion, what you're now going to be looking at is way more engaging apps that are able to utilize the hardware to way better extent than what we were able to do before, and only because we were trying to be efficient. And with this now, like that, there's no need for it. So now you can build on the native device itself.
Right. So you think that's the trend for cross-platform development on mobile going away, or do you think that's going to stay and just going to get augmented in a certain way?
I believe it's going away. I believe it's going to go away. I believe that people are going to start building apps that are completely native apps that are going to fully realize the optimizations that they can and the capabilities of the native platforms.
Sounds good. Sweet. What do you think about it?
And
Cross-platform development and AI doing code for you.
I'm going to make a bold statement, I think, but I think what we see with AI is it can do repetitive tasks better. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is software engineers, what they are currently paid for is to uh, put together some text, some language, some coding that executes some task. If you press on a button, it does something. Why software engineers still have a job is because we do that imperfectly, right? We try our best, and maybe it's subconscious to keep our jobs going. I don't know, but there is always issues if it's non-trivial. Now AI comes, and now you can ask AI, look at my code. You copy paste the code in Copilot or in ChatGPT, and you tell it fix it. It can do it. Uh, Now back to the question. I circle back to it,
Mhm.
and following on your point, Omar, we are wondering how far AI can go. Coding, software engineering is based on text generation solely. ChatGPT is an expert at text generation, at inferring what is the most likely, the best combination of word for the desired output. That's coding, like 101. So I believe, my bold statement is just coming around now. I believe that with AI, we won't need to do coding anymore. And I don't think this is that far out. I would say maybe it's a couple of years away, maybe even less. So for the mobile ecosystem, we won't need to do cross-platform development anymore because we won't need to be coding anymore. We would just ask the AI, I'm going to describe, oh, I want a chat application that is able to do group text that support images. I want to be able to download and to upload the image. I want to be able to delete. You can go on and on and on about your requirement, and it will produce it. Like it already does that on a much smaller scale. Let me give you another example. In my current company, we have a website, and we had some issue with some production issue, and we need to delete a huge amount of data. We have 1 million users, so when there is a big issue, it's 1 million of wrong data. And because it was urgent, we used ChatGPT to say, I need to be able to delete this type of data with this type of identifier in this language on this particular tech stack. The code was 99% correct with some example, some comment in it. So clearly, we won't need to do any mobile cross-platform development. We won't need to be able to do coding. We would just have to retransform as engineers and as leaders to find other tasks, because those one which I've been doing since the age of 12, I love coding, but the reality is coming to an end.
That's true. That's true.
What
Well
do you
said.
think yourself?
So I've been coding for about 15, 20 years at this point myself, and I love GitHub Copilot. It makes my life so much easier. If I was churning out, let's say, 1,000, 1,500 lines a day of code when I'm working on a new project, now I can extend that to 5,000 lines of code. And refactoring becomes easier. You can just not A/B test your functionality, but you can write ChatGPT. You can tell ChatGPT to give you two different variations of the algorithm, so you have multiple algorithms and all these choices in front of you. Looking up APIs and googling the language semantics or the grammar is just gone out of the window because now I don't need to know that. As long as you know fundamentals of computer science and programming, you can code in any different language or any language, right? So earlier I was just an expert at C, C++. Now I can code in 10 different languages, and that's a plus. So I can definitely create a lot more software fast, and I love it. But uh, I think I think coding still has a place because software has architecture associated with it. And what I don't see AI doing right now is architecting systems. It's a great model to produce code, but it's not a great architect just yet. And I feel like that's where the sweet spot is for any software engineer to come in and figure out what the right architecture or the systems architecture is for the product that they're trying to build. Uh, Switching gears a little bit, one of the core use cases of mobile, and we've been talking about this in the conference a little bit, is gaming. And we know the future is XR, AR, VR, MR. VR probably will have a different form factor, which is the glasses, but augmented reality runs on phones, right? And that's essentially just a mobile app. So how do you see, outside of AI and even including AI, but how do you see future of mobile application development along these lines of extended reality?
Yeah, I think currently it's underused, and perhaps because it's not super efficient just yet and not fully functional. I have a few examples I've used at home. I wanted to hang some paintings, and I was like, oh, I'd like to see how they're gonna look like on my wall before I drill a hole.
Right.
And well, it's not straightforward to find that. So that's one thing. You can find, an application. I think IKEA does that, I believe, where you can actually put furniture within your home and you can look at them. I think it's IKEA.
Wayfair can do that.
Maybe it was Wayfair. So, but it is very limited yet to their use case, and it doesn't work as much as it can be. But I do believe that it will definitely open up to a different type of application. Now, thinking about content generation, because that's what AI is focusing on nowadays, you could think of, instead of using IKEA and being limited to IKEA type of furniture, you could ask the AI, can you please tell me what sort of table I should put here? You film your living room, make sure that you know the right color, the right lighting, whatever are the requirements, and you tell it, okay, now give me an option for 3 tables, and you could see those tables on your phone. Even better,
In different styles,
yeah,
you know.
in different colors, in different styles, and even better, it's on your phone, and now you're saying, okay, can you put it on the TV so everyone can look at it, and you ask your friends, your family, your whoever is with you, what do you think? Now you can take a screenshot of it and you can say, oh, send it to my mom. My mom is currently living in France, right? And she's much better than me at interior of the decoration. I mean, I'm bad at this. So I will ask her, like, oh, what do you think about this? And instantly she could be on the call, on the TV, looking at exactly what I'm doing, the augmented version of my living room with my 3, 4, 5 tables. So I think it will be um, a new trend. And I think AI will definitely help making it a lot more uh, easy because of the amount of uh, choice you will have from a user perspective.
Right. Omar, are you seeing a more demand for applications which have XR, AR enabled?
We did, I would say, like last year and the year before, there was a lot of demand for like augmented reality kind of applications. So, like for example, we were working with this jewelry company that wanted to digitally scan all of their product and be able to for people to be able to see it on themselves or try it out before before making a purchase. We were working similarly with a furniture company as well, that wanted to, have their product and be able to have people see it and try it out in their homes and things like that. Um, I will say though that in my experience, s- and even with clothing, for example, we had somebody who wanted to do it with clothing. We actually worked with a large luxury distributor where we helped them create an app that digitized their product and created and had them become NFTs, which can then be worn and bought by people on a Zoom video, or if somebody was wearing um, virtual reality glasses or AR glasses, they could see you in your new Versace coat that you just bought digitally. But in my humble opinion, I don't feel that the medium of mobile device of like mobile phone is really that conductive to like it's not a very good medium for AR or VR kind of experiences. Um, I think I and even like the new the Vision Pro, those kind of things that have come out, like it's too bulky just yet. I don't know if you guys know, but Ray-Ban just worked with Meta to come out with those glasses, like AR glasses. I think that's where a lot of your AR and VR is gonna come out from. Like, it's AR is going to be in glasses. I don't think phones are going to do it justice. You need a huge phone to be able to do it any kind of proper justice. And then virtual reality is full headset.
Right.
So yeah, I think mobile device is just not the right medium for it. But we did see a lot of people trying to minimize their returns by letting people, try things on without, ordering 4 or 5 different versions of it and then returning the rest.
Well, there's tablets right? I mean, it's not a headset, it's not as small as mobile, but then I see a lot of tablets being used in specifically in education use cases where there's augmented reality learning content, and schools are using that for engaging their students. Uh, you mentioned engagement with AI and XR. Uh, you mentioned that developing mobile apps will be easier, and it's going to get easier and easier. No code, low code, AI doing the code. Let's talk about distribution. There's already millions of apps on both Android Play Store and Apple App Store. So if you're looking at developing an app, which is now getting easier and hopefully more engaging, what's the future like for distribution of these mobile apps? How do you get your app into the hands of customers if you're starting out from scratch now or in near future?
I personally believe that going through the native app stores is going to be by far the best way to distribute your app. I know that there have been recently this ruling, against the Apple App Store, and you're supposed to be able to distribute your own apps outside of the App Store and everything, and that is great, right? Like people should have the ability to distribute their product however they want. They shouldn't be limited by an app store. But I believe that um, when you have Google Store, Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, they provide a service where they try to maintain the quality of what is being built for their devices. Um, if you take away that garden, or if you take away that that policing, or that like quality control, what you're going to start seeing is a lot of apps that are not very good, you know and what's that's going to turn into is, well, if you want to go and get a good app, you're going to have to go to the Apple App Store. So by design, your app stores that are developed from those native platforms are going to be the better place to go anyways. So I think it's good that people have more flexibility and more, and that you don't have to pay the homage to the Apple App Store, and you don't have to pay them for distribution, and you have other choices. But I think if even moving forward, if you wanted to get a good quality app, you would still be going to the Apple App Store.
Makes sense. And Cyril, I'm going to have the same question for you, but from a business perspective, right? I mean, if you end up paying one third of your revenue to the App Store, and if you can truly implement SaaS in its native form on the App Store, and given that we can expect that there's going to be more and more number of apps, and the volume of apps is just going to keep increasing on the app stores, then how do you strategically differentiate your app?
I guess I mean it's a very good point that you made about the what it costs, right? Apple App Store and Google Play Store are excellent platform, but they take a third of your revenue to provide this service.
That's right.
They have an agreement. Both of them is exactly 30%. Not anymore now in Europe. It has changed, and we can talk about that maybe offline. But so I think it is expensive, and for young companies, for young startup, for someone that just wants to create an app and have some revenue, or maybe as a side gig, it could be a lot of money. So I think from a business perspective, the question you have to ask yourself is, where are your users first and foremost? I believe that technology is there to bridge gap, to make people more linked together, to allow them to access what they couldn't. So to that point, I think Apple's strategy to be quite elitist is not quite in line with that, but they're doing very good product. But there is not only let's say the rich countries which can afford the extra price that you're gonna have to pay to use the app. You have a lot of emerging country that don't have a population that can afford an iPhone. Therefore, if you want to reach those users, then you can put the app on your Apple App Store and paying you 30%, but you won't reach your users, right? What happened in those places is they usually don't have iPhones, therefore they have Android phones, which I think is globally around 80% of the smartphone on the planet they are Android. And in those emerging countries, they also have alternative to the Google Play Store, because then they can offer a less bigger cut. Sometimes it's free, and to your point, Omar, when it's free, where you pay what you get, which is here you don't pay much, so you don't get very good quality. You get fake apps, you get viruses inside your app. So there is that to consider. But if you want to reach, I'm going to just name few countries that I've worked with throughout my career. Thinking about Brazil, thinking about India, those countries they have alternative to the App Store because they have Android phone and they have not the latest smartphone. When you return your smartphone and you get a bit of money off, those smartphones are shipped off to those other country to get less of a lesser grade smartphone, and they have also less powerful phone. So you need to think about where our user base, what service do you want to provide, and then maybe you have to get familiar, get acquainted, or get comfortable with those alternative store. They are lack of rules, but they are bigger reach because it's great to be able to provide again, as well services in Apple App Store and Google Play Store, but you're only going to reach so many people. Like I said, if you're doing I know they are very popular in India, matrimonial app, for people to meet. If you only on the Apple App Store, then you not gonna succeed
Right, right.
at all. Um,
Actually, I read in news very recently that some of the matrimonial and matchmaking apps in India were removed from the App Store, and there's a big fuss about it. Funny that you mention it. Um, because we're talking about trends for mobile development and up till 2025, 5G is pretty common now, and they've already started to talk about 6G coming fairly soon. The mobile processors now with more GPU power is becoming stronger. Where do you see compute in future? Is it going to be in the server or the cloud, or do you see the edge on the mobile is sufficient compute to make these strong futuristic apps that we're looking to build?
it's interesting you mentioned 5G because I think we are in the world where there are multiple speeds, right? We here in the US, in North America, I'm talking about 5G, 4G. You're like, yeah. Even though I'm saying that, when I landed here, I come from Canada, and I received an SMS telling me there is no 5G where I am. I was like, what? I can only use 3G apparently around here. I haven't rechecked if it was just temporary or not, but here in the US, there was a time between the airport and the hotel here where I couldn't use 5G. So now let's talk about the rest of the world. I know that we are very much North American centric, but even in France, there are a lot of blackout zones where you don't even have 2G. Uh, and let's talk about emerging country where they don't even have data. They use SMSs to make transaction. So, and I know it's not where the money is, at least not yet, but this is where the user is. This is the people that are coming up. They are emerging, right? They are not third world country anymore. They are emerging in technology. So it's great to think about these, but I want us to try and be a little bit more inclusive. And AI and technology that helps us developing faster means you spend less money on development. So hopefully you can spend more money on making it available for more people, including the one that will in 2, 3, or 4 years be your new customer. Like in the company in which we are working, a lot of our customers are coming from North America and from the developed country in Europe. But we have also a huge amount of people from Brazil. They are different type of users. They are not spending as much. They are not converting easily, but there are a huge amount of people because there's an appetite there. There is a desire. So how do we help and how technology, 5Gs and all the things is factored in your development. If you are a global brand, then you have to understand that you can't have an angry application that is require relying on heavy and fast network because you don't have that everywhere. And again, even in the US or even in Canada, you have zones where you have barely any data. Still have people there.
Right, right. I mean, that's certainly true for consumer apps. Omar, what's your take on the compute? Is it shifting to the edge, or it's going to be in the cloud for the next few years? I mean, obviously the mobile market is fragmented based on the power of the phone and the spread of the cellular networks. But
So I think uh, like what we were talking about before, where AI is able to help you optimize your applications based off of what you're trying to do with it. I think there is a role for AI to play in over here as well, where based off of the device, based off of what your speed is on your app, on your mobile device, based off of what country you're in, based off of where you are, the app can function differently. It can optimize, it can go from being a server side app to a on the client app. Like it should be able to shift and be, again, like hyper personalization, right? Like be able to personalize it to that degree that, hey, you are using a 5-year-old phone that has this GPU. Most of the time, you're getting a 3G, if that, connection. If you are downloading this app, I am going to optimize it for your experience.
Right.
Um, I think by the end, like by middle to end of 2025, those kind of things and those kinds of optimizations would be possible.
Lovely. All right. I'll probably open this up for audience. Audience, do you have any questions around mobile application development in the future? I'm sure all of your businesses, if not a few, at least have. Sure, there's a question right there. Well, yeah, thank you. Right. All right. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. For everybody who does not know Maui, Maui is kind of like React Native. It's the new technology from Microsoft. Allows you to do cross-platform mobile application development. But essentially, consumer versus business apps and some serious business apps which need complex logic are frameworks like Maui and React Native still going to be relevant, or how soon or slow you think this trend of custom development for each platform through AI code will take place?
Um, there was a lot in your questions, and I'd like to address them all, but I don't think we can. So I think I'm gonna take an example from my experience. So I worked in Yoti, which is a digital identity. In terms of non-trivial app, we are still scanning document on the phone. So scanning your passport, your driving license, reading the chip from the phone. We were also doing face authentication, face verification, face matching, liveness matching to make sure you're a real human being. All of that with a heavily encrypted in a heavily encrypted manner, with almost a distributed form of storing the data across all devices. So non-trivial was an understatement. Uh, we were the first early adopters, pretty much, of one of the technology that is doing multi-platform, because we wanted to make sure that the critical part of our system was done once, tested properly, and reused multiple times. Now, I was at a time spending a lot of time with the technical leads to implement that and to go, around the issues with the platform. It took us a fair amount of time to understand how this cross-platform tool was working and to make it work. And for the exercise, I'm still in touch with them. Uh, I was like, oh, do you remember this problem that we had? And I sent them a video of me typing the question in ChatGPT and having the answer. So that is how far we came from, what was it? It was in 6 years ago to today. So I do believe that AI will move at a pace and will be that efficient that we won't need to have to consider cross-platform because AI can produce the code for us and most of it. Because cross-platform is only interesting because it saves you time to not have to do it twice, to not have to test it twice, and to have to implement it differently because of the platform specificities. So if you remove the need to have to understand how you make it, working properly, if you can ask, okay, produce this piece of code for me, I need to do XYZ, but not ABC, and you can do that today, then you don't need to have cross-platform uh, development anymore. I'm not saying that they are going to disappear because that's not how things work. But equally, if we ask the question a year ago about what we can do with generative AI, a lot of people didn't think that today we will have full-blown 3D videos generated by generative AI, right? That's how quick things are moving. So I'm going to double down on my statement. And I do believe that next year at this conference, we will have a far different conversation as to how much is left for software engineers to code themselves.
I like that. You're doubling down on the fact that we will not need it. Umar, do you have any thoughts on that? But more specifically, Umar, business versus consumer apps. Because to her point, business apps will be like an extension to what's already on the web. So it's not just about sharing code between iOS and Android, it's
Right.
also about sharing code between web and mobile itself.
Right. So I think um, there's a difference over here, right? Like a lot of your business apps kind of they suffer from not being mobile responsive. They're not, and it's less so of developing an app that is specifically for a mobile device or cross platform, but is more about designing the experience so that it is mobile responsive. So whether you are on a desktop or you are on a tablet or you are on your device, as long as your design is mobile responsive, you don't have to worry about whether that is going to be cross platform. So I think business apps need to become, or business app developers need to better understand the value of design and mobile responsive design, and not just think about like people sitting in their desks and being on a desktop and understand like what, like be able to cater to both of them. And that problem goes away with mobile responsive design, less so of cross-platform development.
Makes sense. I mean, one thing that we do not have time to touch on, but I just briefly want to mention is 10 years ago, I had two different laptops, one for my enterprise job, one personal. Then a few years ago, my company allowed us to take the laptop and we had a VPN software on it. But then when business apps comes on your phone and you have your work data on your phone, mobile VPN or VPN for your mobile device is still not as pervasive. Uh, I don't know, for some people, maybe I know there's tools out there. So the security of business apps on your personal mobile phone is another thing to think about. And I think it's going to get more and more complex because if you have AI running on the phone and your work data is on the phone as well, and the companies are actually paying other companies to kind of protect their data on the cloud, who's protecting the business data on your phone,
Right.
right? So it becomes a little tricky over there. Any other questions? I think we have time for one last question. And I know, again, this is the last session for the day, so we'll take any questions. Yes, please. Yeah.
So I would say that it's less so about like where we are and more so about um, the fundamentals of good application development, right? Which is user centric. Like, you have to understand your user, you have to understand where they are, where they're going to be when they're going to be using your applications, what is their pain points and what are they trying to do with your application, and based off of that, which medium works best for them. Which, regardless of whether we have AI or we are in 2030 or 2035, it's the basics, right? Like, you have to understand your user. If you're just going to go ahead and build an application to do certain thing without truly understand your user, without truly being user centric, having a user centric design, and then, like, if your users are on their mobile app for the most majority of the time, then yes, absolutely, it should be mobile first. But if your users are going to be spending 95% of their day at a desktop with a screen that is a 25-inch desktop screen, then you optimize for that, right? If your users are going to be on the go and they're working from home and they're going to have a a a laptop with a 13-inch screen, then you optimize for that. So it really is first truly trying to understand who your user is, where their needs going to be, and where they're going to be when they're going to be using these applications, and then optimizing more for that.
That's right. Well, I guess, and gone are the days where app by itself was a product. Now apps are commoditized. The product is something else. The app is just a part of it. It's either the content and the app together, content, app plus services all bundled together. So more and more startups that I see are actually offering solutions. And to his point, the solution itself has to be user centric. An app is just the touch point where you meet your user. Good. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, one last point on this topic. I think what I've seen in my experience as well, in particular for those business app, is we consider the business user as less important than other users. Might be right, might be based on numbers, it doesn't matter. But I think one of the side effects of that is that we are not even trying to understand how they are using the product. Is it on web or mobile app? Like, I've seen so many users, when you ask them, okay, so how do you use this feature? You look at them and you're like, what? That's not how we thought about it. And to your point, I don't think it's about the platform. It's about making sure that the way it has been developed is working for them, is monitoring those behavior. And I think AI again can help on that, can help pinpointing that, this brand new feature you've added is used by one users out of your 150 business users. You don't need it. So I think there is a lot more that we can do to make sure that when we develop mobile application for business users, or a product basically for business users, that we understand their requirement and we go with them on the journey, because when they start using it, they're going to shift their behavior based on what they see on the screen. And this is where we need to be good product people, good engineers, which is hand holding them towards the new version, understanding the new needs that we have created by releasing the first version.
All
I'll
right.
stop
Thank
there.
you. I think I have the signal. Thank you, both of you. Omar, Cyril, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
All right, give it up one more time for our leaders. Thank you.